Hannah Bloomfield Giles' Receipt Book of Cookery is a manuscript cookbook that has been in the collection of the DAR Museum since 1963. It was compiled and written around 1781 by Hannah Bloomfield Giles of New Jersey. In it, she includes all types of recipes, vegetables, cooked meats, lots of puddings, and a few recipes for drinks. I decided to try making her recipe for lemon brandy. This is a very straightforward recipe, and it sounded very appealing. Here is Hannah's recipe. Lemon brandy. Take the rinds of 18 sour lemons, pared off very thin. Steep them in 1 gallon of good brandy for 3 or 4 days. Then take out the rind and make a rich syrup with 3 pounds of loaf sugar. Stir it in the brandy and put to it half a pint of new milk. Let it stand 2 or 3 days more, stirring it well once or twice each day. Then filter it through a jelly bag. The recipe made quite a lot, so I cut it in half. Making the lemon brandy is a multi-day process. It takes about a week. I used a large empty pickle jar to mix the brandy. The recipe called for sour lemons, 18. I know that the lemons that were available in the 18th century were smaller than some of the giant ones we can find today in the grocery store, so I selected 5 large ones. The other main ingredient is the brandy. The recipe calls for good brandy, so when I picked it out, I didn't buy the cheapest or the most expensive. And since I was cutting the recipe in half, I used a 1.75 milliliter bottle of brandy, which is a standard bottle. As she instructed, I peeled the lemons carefully, avoiding the pith, that white stuff that is bitter and unpalatable. I mixed these peels with the brandy and let the jar sit for 4 days in my basement. On day 4, I carefully fished out the peels. Then I set to making a rich syrup, which I consider to be similar to a heavy syrup used in canning today. I dissolved 3 cups or 1.5 pounds of sugar into 1.5 cups of water. I brought it to a boil, then I cooled it for 15 minutes, and then I added it to the brandy. Next, she called for adding new milk. I used 1 cup of heavy cream and let it stand for 3 more days, stirring it twice a day. When I added the cream, I began storing it in the refrigerator. I had some concerns or misgivings when I added the cream to the brandy. There is a lot of lemon in the brandy at this point, and milk curdles in an acid. Well, I had to try it. And yes, it definitely curdled and was not very appetizing to look at. This is why you are instructed to strain it through a jelly bag after it has sat for 3 days. If you don't have a jelly bag, a few layers of cheesecloth would also work. After straining twice, it was much more appetizing in appearance. I stored it in the refrigerator, and just before serving, give it a quick shake, because it separates after sitting. The flavor is smooth and creamy. It is similar to eggnog, but not nearly as thick. The lemon gives it a refreshing taste that is unusual in a drink with cream. It mellows as it sits and becomes even smoother in a few weeks.